busy meeting yesterday. Piece of cake. Morning, Rick.
Morning. Okay, can you give me a test there? That'll be this one.
Test 1, 2, 3.
Perfect, thank you.
You know, I wish we could. I wish there was some way we could implement a tax on gravel. You know, like $1 a load, you know, or whatever, something like that. I mean, it would be a tax at probably, for the simple reason is that no one can deny that when you've got, you know, a semi loaded with gravel and they're pulling a full semi pump, that it's not doing damage to the road, you know, for road maintenance and road upkeep. Now, out in my neck of the woods, I mean,
mining tax maybe?
What's that?
A mining tax?
I don't know. I've kicked this around for a number of years, but you know, even like Old 81, County Road 11, if you go out and you walk that, you know, there's many, you know, the trucks will come out empty, load, go in by my place, they'll go south by my place loaded. And the south lane of that County Road 11, you can just see it's grooved already. I mean, you can just see the tracks, you know. In fact, you know, if I drive out and I could probably just let go of the steering wheel and they just bring me to town and it'll just follow from all the semis. And the Hall Road north of my place going over to the ConAg pit, I totally understand when they were talking about yesterday where the road is 2 feet lower than the ditch. And that's the way that is. The road, there's been so much traffic that they've driven the road down. When you drive down that road, you look, the field is about up here, the farmer's field, you know, right beside it. It's really been squished.
That's that much compaction.
Just, yeah. Yeah. And they maintain the road though. They put solvent on it. And there's a mile and, you know, 200-300 yards of gravel, and they keep it treated pretty well, you know. But
Is there maybe a counter to that? Be a wheel tax on semi?
well, that's supposedly what it does, but that hits everyone, and sometimes I think maybe these gravel haulers should be, you know.
And there's different ways to do it. In some states, they actually tax the property. If it's
Yeah.
producing gravel, it's got a different tax rate than agriculture or whatever, you know, they put it. And then there's other counties and townships that do put a tax. Every time it goes out the gate, there's a tax on it.
We should just research that because it's getting to be bigger and bigger. But I tell you what, you know, you guys got to be careful what you wish for because it could end up to be a real hassle trying to enforce that. You heard them say yesterday that one pit over here east of town, there'll be people hauling on over there and they won't know who they are.
Right.
You know, so how do you?
The producer like Cottington County, we have to do a mining report every year. We have to report how many tons of gravel went mined out of that pit every year. We have a situation like that, you can put tax on every ton that goes out of there.
It's 9 a.m. It's time for our October 17th Cottington County Board of Commissioners meeting to convene, and we'll do as we did last week. We'll begin the meeting with the flag salute. So Al isn't here this morning, so I'll lead it again this morning unless someone else wishes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please bear with me. I'm fighting a cold. I don't know where I got it. Well, it's this time of the year when you start out in the morning with a jacket, and by noon it's 50, 60 degrees, and you're just hot. And then you take the jacket off, and then you go around the corner and you hit a cool breeze. So that's the kind of year, the part of the season that we're in. If you have a cell phone, please turn it off, as I will do right now. Check mine, make sure I've got it off. It is off. And if you do get a phone message that you do need to answer or take, please step out into the rotunda area and answer the phone so you don't disrupt the meeting. Also, this meeting is being streamed live, so if you do wish to approach the board, you more than likely will be being streamed, so just keep that in mind.
I make
That
a
being
motion
said,
that we approve the agenda.
We do have a motion by Commissioner Hatton to approve the agenda.
Second.
And a second by Commissioner
Gable.
Lee Gable. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. How about approval of
Move
the
to
minutes of the
approve as
October 10th
emailed.
meeting?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hatton, a second by Commissioner Van Duzen. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Monthly reports. First one is facility manager. Maybe we'll report on the facility manager. Milo did get to spend an evening at the hospital again. They took him by ambulance to the hospital on Friday evening, and just having back spasms and some real issues, and so he ended up there spending the night. And apparently he did get out on Saturday. He was having some tests taken, or he did have some tests taken. But I reported to the Planning and Zoning Board yesterday that he was in the hospital, and someone said, no, I saw him at Menards on Sunday. So must have been pretty desperate. He got out of the hospital and went right to Menards. He must have had a leaking faucet or something. I don't know what was going on. But anyway, at least he's up and around, and the results of the tests are supposed to show up today, and we can only wish him and pray for the best results of his tests. So keep him in your thoughts and your prayers, and we'll go forward with that. He didn't share anything with you as far as the facility report?
Nope.
Sure, we're fine. All right, Highway Department, Rick? Rick is here with us, so good morning again, Rick.
Morning, Rick.
Good morning.
And by the way, I actually did have one of the local farmers run me down the other day and thank us for fixing the railroad crossing up there.
Yeah, I've had several comments on it, but
I had one, so that's good.
still a little rough on the end where the new asphalt meets
Yeah.
with the old asphalt. But down the road, I think what's going to be done on that road is all the way from 81 County Road 11 over to 1 mile east of the interstate. The DOT used that for a haul road when they were redoing the interstate.
Yeah.
If you drive that road, you notice how much rougher it is between 81 and where the batch plant was a couple of years ago. So in the plans down the road, I'm looking at milling 1.5 inches or 2 inches off that road and putting 2 inches back on. The rest of the road's not bad.
Sure.
I guess the main item I have today is a issue on these 3 bridges that we applied for a big grant for the preliminary engineering on it. Those grants were denied. They didn't score high enough to get a grant. And I had told the board that my plan was, if that was the case, we'd go ahead with the request for proposal. And I did that this last week, mailed out request for proposals for the preliminary engineering for these 3 bridges with I believe I put a date of November 17th is when I'll have those RFPs back, and hopefully I'll have them back so on the 21st I can bring them to the commission and say, here's what the cost will be to do these. I'm anticipating in $20,000 to $24,000 a piece for these preliminary engineering. But as I stated before, these bridges need to have something done. They're on Old 81, main ag route and also aggregate route. And if we wait for this big program to get them in the program, then bridges are gonna be so, rated so low, you'll be able to take a pickup truck with a little gravel across them. So I feel we gotta do the preliminary engineering and then see where we're at there. As far as what the guys are doing, we've been, with all this rain, we've come up with some culvert problems showed up with the washouts and so forth. So we've been doing a lot of culvert repair and also ruts along the road. We've got quite a few areas, well, north of Henry, especially where some of the hills, water ran down the edge of the road, and we've been repairing the ruts on them. Our mowers are just about finished up, which is, we're actually ahead of most years on that. The mowing's gone real well this year.
You got 2 mowers, all right?
Got 3 going.
3 going.
Got 2 of them with twin decks and 1 with a single deck, and now the ones with the twin decks on them, we'll bring them in and pull one of those decks off and then use them. They're a lot more maneuverable with just the one deck. And for cleaning up around gates, field gates and approaches and stuff, the guys that plow the roads in the winter know where the snow problems are, so they take them out now and they'll clean up these identified trouble spots. Roof is complete. I haven't got the bill yet, but they pulled away the last piece of equipment yesterday. I haven't done an inspection on it yet, but they say it's complete. I'll have to take a look at it, but it's been quite a while in the works on that. I'm heading for Rapid City right after I leave the meeting here for that local roads conference. I'll be back Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening. I guess that's all I have. If you have any questions.
Did you notice any leaks, Rick, after the Saturday rain?
No, there better not be any leaks.
That was a pretty good test.
Yeah, no, and I've been up on there several times, and that's quite the roof system. That film they put on there it's about as tough as it gets.
That was that heavier film.
Yeah, it was 90, and the contractor, if you remember, he stated he had never done one with this 90 mil thickness membrane. Everybody goes with the 60s, and when he did it with this 90 mils, he said he'd like to do them all that way. He said it lays down really nice, and he said it's almost impossible to damage it. So I think we made the right choice on that.
Did he give an estimate of how much longer that would last, a 90 over a 60?
Well, the company that manufactures it says anywhere from, they got a 25-year warranty on the 60 mil, and it's the same on the 90, but they say it'll be another 20 years, estimate another 20 years life out of it. So.
Rick, yesterday we had a planning and zoning board meeting, and your name did come up, but it was good. I mean, it was all right. So, one of the applications was to open up a new pit over east of town here, and a lot of this discussion centered around these haul roads and dust control on these haul roads, and a lot of us were talking and not really knowing what we were saying. You understand? Everybody's got an opinion or an idea, and at what point do you call, and who do you call when the dust gets so bad that you can't see across your yard? And then who maintains them and how are they maintained? And I don't know. It'd be nice if we had just a haul road for the townships. The townships are in the same boat we are. The townships, sometimes they'll say, well, we'll just put a road speed limit on it and try to control the dust or something by just doing that. Well, I live out in amongst the gravel pits out there, and I have neighbors that will vouch for you that it doesn't matter if a semi goes by at 20 or 30 or 10 or 50, they create a lot of dust. And it's something that we should just be thinking about down the road, and then give them the option to say, okay, if we need to use a chemical solution rather than just water, what are the options and what are the best options and what are the costs? We sit at these meetings, we can say, here's what it's going to cost per half mile, if you're going to treat it and do it correctly. And I've been, there are areas in the county that are treated, and they've done a very good job of doing it. And I don't know what those costs are, and you know, who bears that cost? Is it the individuals that are mining that, or is it the people that own the mine, or you know, just you know, maybe some thoughts that when you're driving down to Rapid City this afternoon, you just got to think about those things, okay?
We do have, Cottington County does have a haul road agreement.
Yes,
That you can
yep.
get off the website. The townships have contacted me and looked at it. I don't know that any of them have used it, but that is basically for a project. You know, if you have a project that's going to last 3 months, you go out and you inspect the road with the contractor. You agree on what condition it's in. When the job is done, it has to be as good or better than when they started, and that works well for that. The hard one is with the permanent pits.
Yep.
You can use that same haul road agreement, but like I say, you'd have to set up a periodic inspection or a paragraph in there that states when the superintendent says the road needs repair, it needs repair, and the contractor would be liable for that.
Well, and I think the big issue at yesterday's meeting was dust control.
Dust is the big thing.
That's what
Yeah.
kept coming up.
And, you know, not only with construction projects, I'm hearing more and more often you get these commercial silage cutters coming in. And I don't know if you've ever been out in one of those operations.
Oh, yeah.
It's as bad or worse than a gravel hauling operation. That has kind of been the tough point, is when do you require a haul road agreement? You know, if it's your neighbor that's hauling silage for a week, do you have to have a haul road agreement with them? And if you have it for the gravel haulers, why don't we have it for the silage haulers? A lot of times the guy that's cutting the silage is a commercial hauler just like the gravel haulers are, you know?
Sure.
And that's kind of been a tough deal is, you know, when do you require a haul road agreement? I've had good luck in both with ag producers and gravel haulers, just contacting them. If they're hauling for a township and say, hey, here it is, you're hauling by such and such a house, you need to put water on it. And most of the contractors, or the majority of them, will honor that. There's a few of them that they'll just haul a different direction so they don't affect that person and hope the calls stop. But
Well, the contractor we were dealing with yesterday was certainly obliging in the fact that they have a water truck sitting wherever they do haul and when they do haul, and it's out of the same pit. It's probably all year, but it's intermittent. You know, they may haul for a week or maybe 2 weeks at a time and then not haul for a month, you know. And then if they put more than just water on, who bears that expense? Because not only the contractor is getting the advantage of that, other people that are hauling on that road get the advantage of it too. So, but he was certainly, I think, willing to have the water truck there and do whatever they could with water.
And there could be an ordinance adopted by the county that, in fact, Pennington County is dust-free. You cannot generate any dust on a Pennington County road. I mean, you have to have dust control one way or another in Pennington County.
And in the pit that we were talking about yesterday, it's a little special type of situation where there's going to be two fairly close together where, you know, we're now going through the ordinances and new things are being looked at and added to as conditions. So, you know, the new ones now will have different conditions than what the older ones had, so then it's hard to justify or try to get them to adhere to, you know, if you have one that's having to do it. So.
And one thing that we can't we have to be careful. Like I said before, we have to be kind of careful what we ask for once in a while, because we are so blessed to have the gravel, the aggregate in our county. I think you go to Brown County and they have to haul their aggregate in from, I don't know, Day County or wherever, but they have to haul a long, long way. So it's very, very costly to bring that aggregate in. And we have it right here, so we're fortunate.
Aberdeen, Brown County, as you mentioned, if you go up on Highway 12, the number of trucks going out of the Sweetman pit, just at the junction of 81 and Highway 12, going west is phenomenal because they don't have hard rock over there.
No.
The rock they have over there is shale, and the sand is full of shale. So if they're doing a state project in Brown County, the aggregate's got to come from our area.
Commissioner Waterman had a question.
Yes, just a comment, not speaking for the county, but Fuller Township, on dust control. We've had more than one person come in and talk about it, and I'm sure they've talked to you, Rick. And they're treating it as, if you want dust control, then you take care and pay for it past your place. The landowner's responsibility.
And on the county roads, that's the way it is right now. We've got 3 sites that I know that they're putting magnesium or magnesium chloride on the county road east of Rawville, and they're doing that at their own expense.
So that's just the way that they're handling it, the way that Fuller Township is handling it.
But on that situation east of Rawville, that's not a haul road for a pit or anything where there's a big project or anything going. This is just daily traffic, and people got sick of dusting the furniture and said they had to take care of it, you know. So they're doing it on their own.
Any other questions? Lee?
Mr. Chairman, just going back to the 3 bridges, I might have missed what you said. Did you say that those were ones that we had applied for the grant for those, and they said no, basically?
Right,
okay.
yes.
Okay. So that's back to Senate Bill 1 from a few years ago, just for everybody's information.
Yes, and if you remember when I applied for these grants, I tried not to give the commission high hopes on
Right.
this, but I thought it was smart to apply for the grants, and if we didn't get them, or if it looked like it's going to be several years down the road before we get them,
Yeah.
and that's what it looks like. The score on these was low enough. They're not going to get to the point where the grant we'll get a grant on them for 2 or 3 years down the road. I don't think we can wait that long.
So it's an issue, what you're saying then is an issue of how close you are to the basically the time when you really do have to replace these bridges, and that gets more serious and raises the score.
These 3 bridges, the last time they were inspected, it was borderline whether they were going to have to be posted to reduce the loads. The next time they're inspected next summer, I'm sure I shouldn't say that. The chances are pretty good that they're going to be restricted loads on them. They'll have to cut down where these semis won't be able to haul the grain or whatever across them, and it's just going to keep getting worse. And the longer we sit back and wait for these grants, it's just...
Yeah. And the grants were just for the preliminary engineering at this point in the process. So, okay.
The reason I'm suggesting going for the preliminary engineering is the preliminary will tell what kind of structure we need there. These are little bridges now. I'm thinking that we can probably get by on at least 2 of these with a box culvert. Well, the box culvert is a lot cheaper to design when it comes to the design engineering. If these preliminary engineering come back and say that we can get by with the box culvert, my next suggestion would be to suggest to the commission, let's go ahead and do the design engineering also, because it doesn't cost much to do design engineering on a precast box and get the project, what they describe as shovel ready. The preliminary is done, the design is done, and then apply for the big grant for the construction of it, and hoping we can get that done in just a couple of years.
More than likely, if you're helping yourself on some of these things, like the pre and the other design portion, they may be more willing or score us higher than on the construction part.
Right. It improves your score on the big grant for the construction end of it dramatically if you do the preliminary or the design.
Rick, could you state one more time why the state denied the grant?
There's a score on them. They have a score on them, and I can get you the numbers later, but I'm not sure where the level is. But it's in like 40 points, and we're at 13 on some of these, so we're quite a ways below it. And I can get you the specifics.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to clarify why it was denied because
they rate them just like they do on the construction grants. When you apply, you get so many points for each thing. One thing Cottington County does lose points on is our wheel tax. We only have $2, and
We're not taking full advantage of what the statute
Correct,
offers.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't have
Allows.
made a difference between
Okay.
getting these grants or not on this deal, but it would help down the road. So.
Okay.
So basically, just for I think everybody's clarification is that, so this is an issue, because of the life cycle of the bridge, it's just not urgent enough at this point to raise that score high enough at least in this grant program. It's kind of
Right,
the issue.
correct.
But we still
Okay.
have to get going on the preliminary engineering,
That's what my
if we're
question
planning
was,
well,
yeah.
so,
Okay,
yeah.
And it's kind of water under the bridge, no pun intended. Because the application date is over now. We have to wait till next year now.
Yeah, we'd have to wait
Yeah.
till next year, and then if the score, I don't anticipate the score will be high enough next year, but these bridges are gonna be posted in the
Sure.
next, inspection cycle, or maybe this following one, they're gonna be posted, and that's on 81 North, all the aggregate that you talked about, and all the grain and so forth that comes up and down that road, their loads are gonna be restricted on them,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. And if you know, and I live it, I'm out there every day, and there's literally every day hundreds of loads. And I'm not exaggerating. I mean, there's that many semis and trucks up and down that road. It's unbelievable. Anything other questions for Rick? Anything else? Thank you, Rick.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Rick.
Drive safe going to Rapid.
Thank you.
Should be beautiful out there this time of the year.
Yeah, it should be.
All right, weed supervisor. Steve is not here, I see.
no, he didn't know if he needed to be here, but this is just a grant, this is action to authorize him to apply for the fiscal year 2019 weed and pest grant funds.
And we've always done that in the
Yeah.
past. I
I'll
see
make a
no reason
motion
why
to
we wouldn't do
authorize.
that
Second.
again. We have a motion by Hatton, a second by Commissioner Waterman. Any discussion? It's in your packet, the application, if you wish to review it. If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Number 6 is action to declare a refrigerator from the detention center surplus and to be disposed of accordingly. We must have a dead refrigerator, huh?
We do. This thing died last week. It was purchased in August of 1996 for $3,600. It's a commercial refrigerator in the detention center, and it did die. And we do have a policy in place that if you need a purchase over $2,000, you need to have board approval. But since this was an emergency, they did go ahead and replace it. And the company that they purchased the new refrigerator from agreed to haul away the old one. So we just need to have it declared surplus,
make
and I'll
that
note
motion.
how it was.
Second.
We have a motion by Van Dusen, second by Gable. Any more discussion? I don't think that refrigerator owed us anything. Man, 23 years old or something like that, it did its work, yeah. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Haul her away. Action to approve the 2018 Employee Sanford Health Plan insurance premiums and to approve the employer-employee premium splits. Cindy sent an email out during the week, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't really understand what I was looking at, and I looked at it for quite a while, and then I put it
Okay.
away and I looked at it again, and I think you're going to have to maybe take my hand and lead me through it a little bit. So,
Okay, so the counties.
do we have a copy in our packet? I don't think we
No,
do,
I
do we?
did not. I just emailed it out. Sorry, I should
I
have
have it on
made
my
copies.
email. If you wait a minute.
So the county's health insurance is with Sanford, and we have 3 options: $1,000 deductible, $2,000, and $3,000 for both single and family are the 2 policies we have. The renewal rates for single insurance, option 1 is $588.47. Option 2, $532.98. And option 3, $502.26. Option 1, family renewal, I should have added these up, is $1,469.98. The county has previously paid half of that. Option 2, family, is
Do you want me to project it?
$1,200, yeah, you could do that, except I don't have them added together on there either. Option 2 premium is $1,267.97, and option 3 will go to $1,237.25. The county has always done a 50-50 split on the family insurance for like the option 1. And then last year, whatever that split is, the board gave that split to the employee for options 2 and 3, lowering their cost. So option 1, the split would be $734.99 for the county and the employee. Option 2 would be $596.26 to the employee, $734.99 to the employer. And option 3, $519.46 to the employee and $734.99 to the employer. So the employer's cost for family insurance remains the same for any option, and then it lowers the employee's cost based on whichever option they choose.
I would make a motion to approve the 2018.
And it is a 7.15% increase from our 2017 rates.
Yeah.
What was your motion?
I'd make a motion to approve the Sanford Health Plan and the employee premium splits.
Okay, which option?
That's for all 3.
That's for all
The
of them.
employees
Alright.
can pick any one of
Okay,
those
to choose.
options.
Okay.
Yes, any one of those options are available to employees.
Okay.
Some companies have what they call two-party, but Cottington County has chosen to either go family or single.
We don't get a party.
So
So,
I'll second Commissioner Hanlon's motion.
okay, we have a motion by Hatton, second by Lee. Discussion.
Question
Go ahead.
to Cindy, Mr. Chairman. So what you just described, how the portion that the county pays for, is that, I'm just trying to see it on the form that Sanford sent, or the Crans sent us. Is that just,
That's not,
It's not actually on the
that's
form.
not indicated on his form. Nope. We get the premiums from Sanford, yeah, and then it's up to this board on how to make the
okay,
split.
so that's part of the motion.
Yes, and that was part of Brenda's motion to accept the premiums and the employee-employer split, which Sanford doesn't care how we split it, yeah. Yep.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We looking for discussion. Any more questions? Is the media, do you understand what we're doing? I think we left you with some misinformation last week, and
No, I just misinformed myself.
oh, well, it's kind of nice if people take the blame for something that's going on. And you could blame us. We'll take the blame. We're used to that.
The one thing to also keep in mind is it is a 7.1% increase, but even with that, we're paying less than we were
3 years
3
ago.
years ago.
Yes,
So
yes, definitely
we're
we are.
still doing all right that way.
But we'd be paying a lot less if we didn't have that 7.1% increase. So,
Well, we should
It's,
consider ourselves
it's,
fortunate, I think.
Everybody would be paying less if there wasn't an increase.
Considering the health care, whatever is coming down or is in effect,
Changes,
I
yeah.
think we're pretty lucky.
Cindy, it looks like to me that all the physician office visits, chiropractic copay, emergency room copay, all that's the same on all of these.
Same
plans.
across the board, it's just the out-of-pocket and the deductibles that change. So yeah, any policy that you pick, you're going to get a $20 physician's office copay, and all of prescription costs, those are all the same.
all right. So that being said, this motion will first off indicate that Sanford will be our carrier, and the local insurance agent is Ray Crans, the Crans Insurance. And we've talked about the split between the county and the city. Is there any more questions? Any other questions?
The county and employees.
The county employee, what did I say?
Let's leave the city out of it.
County and the city?
Yeah.
Maybe let's put the city in there and see if we can stir anybody up.
Okay,
It's the employees in the county.
correct.
Yeah, better get that straight.
Yeah, you got that, JT?
You better quote him on that one.
You gotta put the city in there, make sure it's in capitals and in parentheses. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Number 8, discussion, excuse me, possible action for the chair to sign an agreement with BKV Architects. Lee, this is your baby.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in front of you, you should have this AIA agreement. The AIA stands for American Institute of Architects or something like that. It's the Architects Professional Association. So they produce a series of standard agreements that you can use to edit for various kinds of projects. So that's kind of why it looks the way it does. I had this is the agreement that the CCJAC looked at and recommended on Tuesday with 2 minor changes I'll discuss in a second. Had the state's attorney take a look. Looks good. I had Toby Morris, who was going to advise us for should the bond have passed. He was good enough to take a quick look. It's a very straightforward agreement because the project is fairly small, and that's on the first page there. So this is an agreement for BKV Architects to provide design services and then walk us through the project basically with all the contracting and bidding, and then monitoring the project as remodeling takes place. And what this would remodel, just for everybody's information, we've been talking about it for the past month and a half, is the remodeling of the equalization office into a courtroom and the current county nurse's office into a clerk of courts, new clerk of court space that would give them more adequate space than what they have now. We can talk about later how that would cause a reshuffle of some of the other county offices throughout the courthouse. We can talk about that during the open perhaps. But essentially that's what the project is. So that's all the design work that goes along with that, as well as helping the county work through the project and the construction, the bidding and the construction. So other than what the Justice Advisory Committee saw on Tuesday night, last week Tuesday, let me just hit the high points. So typical architecture stuff, so design of the remodel and design of what the space will look like. So that's kind of what the first few pages are about. The one thing that was changed from on page 6 that was changed from when the CCJAC saw it on Tuesday was just an amplification of that underlined part there, about 2/3 of the way down the page on courtroom technology. So part of the designing will include assistance with what kind of courtroom technology, so that we can have the right kind of monitors and other computer systems that a modern courtroom should have that helps the process go more efficiently. And so that includes a consultation. The fee includes consultation for that and working that into the design. It doesn't include the equipment itself, and that was in that amount was in the previous estimate when we talked about the whole project that I've discussed before. And so that's what we budgeted for a couple weeks ago when we approved the provisional budget.
So you are saying that the equipment costs are in your bid?
You know, the design cost for what equipment to install, that's included in this fee. Well, I think we're saying the same thing. So
Yeah.
it's $50,000 is what we're estimating for the actual cost of that equipment.
Okay, gotcha.
So on top of this, so, and then,
What was the cost of this?
okay, well, I'm getting to that, Mr. Chairman. So continuing to go through it.
This is just what they're gonna-
That is on page,
Is it 13?
page 13, and, well, it starts on 12, under Article 11. So the basic architect's fee would be $160,000 for this project, and the overall value of the project is the max would be $1.34 million on the high end of the estimate. So depending on construction costs and things, it could be lower. And then the other key piece is expenses, which are on page 14, and so expenses not to exceed $12,000. And so that was another change yet. There was a typo in that when we looked at it on last week Tuesday at the CCJAC. So it just says not to exceed $12,000.
Those are architect fees then?
No, that would be
Or
expenses
what is
like
that?
what they just traveling back and forth.
Oh,
the
okay.
kinds of expenses that they do. So the list, you can see the hourly,
Oh, I see.
how this is the stuff before that, all those lists and things. That's how they come up with their $160,000.
Okay.
So
So at the present cost, the estimate would be $160,000, a set cost of $160,000.
For the architect, it's a set cost of $160,000. That's
What percentage of that is the total, of the total project?
I'll come up with that, but roughly that's a little over 10% of the cost of the construction. So basically, the way it works with architect's fees is the smaller the project, the greater the percentage that the architect gets. So had we done, say had the vote passed, when you have a multi-million-dollar project, then you're going to have a lower percentage for the architect's fees. So I can
Well, the
tell you
reason I was asking is I looked at the CCJ report, and then I looked at the percentages of this $160,000, and that's why I was curious without saying
Let me
what it was, but it seemed like to be a little bit high.
Hold on a second. Let me do that for you real quick.
Now, these dollars, that 1.3 million, those dollars will come out of that future building fund account.
We applied, and that was applied funds. That's the proper term, correct?
And that's why-
Designated funds, assigned funds.
Assigned funds
Yes.
in the budget process, so that's where
Yes.
we pulled that out, and then we budgeted it. So we budgeted 1.36 to make sure we're covered on that. So
And that includes the architect fees.
includes the architect fees, yep.
And for those that, I made this mention at the meeting the other night, Lee, is that we need to make certain that the general public understands that the reason we're spending this $1.3 million is to hopefully be able to reduce the size of the jail or be able to see the advantages of that as we go forward
Yeah.
and making our next moves.
Yeah.
It's not really the size of the jail,
Not
it's
the
more
si-
so the number of inmates,
It's
hopefully
more,
we're able to.
yeah, so it could be how long, whatever jail we have
Right.
lasts, making
Yeah.
it last longer is probably the more realistic thing
To
to say.
reduce the number of
Ultimately,
inmates.
the goal is to add that jury courtroom.
Correct.
Which will expedite the process of getting these people that are awaiting their court appearances through the system a little quicker.
And getting
so-
sentenced.
To speed the process up.
Yeah, yeah.
And the judges still have a lot of control over that, but the
Yeah.
fact that the facilities will be there for them to use, and that they
And talking-
can't come back to us and say, the reason that we're moving so slow is because we don't have the facilities.
Yeah, but so just to refresh, and this is a good discussion to remind folks that part of this is what we would have done had the bond passed anyway with that, because we had saved that money. I mean, it was started before our time as commissioners. They started putting aside money into the Future Building Projects Fund. And so we can attack some of that problem with those funds. And that saves the county money because we're dealing with the effects of inflation and that inevitably come whenever you're building something in the world of construction.
I think one of the real important pieces of this is our employees, our people here. They're going to start being affected when if we make this motion to go forward today, this is going to affect a lot of people that are in-house here right now. Because we're going to start relocating people, and you know how we are about being relocated. I'm set in my ways. I like where my furniture is sitting so I don't stub my toe or whatever the case may be. And so there's several departments that are going to be relocated and moved, and we want to keep peace and harmony in-house. So we always need to be really concerned and make certain that our people in-house, our employees understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. And we appreciate their consideration and their support in our doing this.
I would just have to say that has been happening. They have
Yeah, I
been
think-
very receptive.
yeah.
We've been very open with them. They've been along looking at the different options. So I mean,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
keeping everybody in the know.
Yeah, and so, we've had to take, several department heads and say, can you come and look at this space or that space, and been very helpful. One of the benefits, kind of a side benefit, I think that we're going to see from this is getting all the key county offices up on this floor of the courthouse. So basically that means bringing the Director of Equalization up next door to the Register of Deeds, which could be, they need to work together a lot, so that could be a beneficial thing. And then moving the clerk of courts space down to where the nurse's office is, and that gives them more space. And especially when they have those busy days, when folks have to come in and see them, that space will be more efficient as well. It should make the flow in the courthouse a little bit better for that particular business. So
There's still a few offices, though, that we don't know where they're going to go yet.
Well,
We'll talk
let's
about
cover
that in the open.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're getting closer on that, so.
Well, thank you for all of your efforts, Commissioner. I don't like surprises, and none of the employees here like surprises, so we always need to be abreast of that and make certain everybody knows what the right hand and the left hand are doing. And is that a motion, Lee? Have you made a motion yet?
Yeah, I'll make the motion. I want to answer Commissioner Waterman's question. He asked about what the percentage, architect fees, what percentage of their fees
Yeah.
are.
Did you come up
of
with
the
an
overall
answer?
project. Yeah, it's about 12%. So
12%.
Yeah, so that could give or take depending on how the overall cost comes out. So it's about 12% of the overall project cost. So with that, the motion that I would make is to authorize the chairman to sign this agreement with BKV Architects.
You heard the motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Van Duzen. Any more discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I know that Lee has put a lot of work into this, and he's worked with these architects and feels comfortable with them, or he wouldn't have even brought this proposal forward. But this is so much different than what we were working on with the jail. Why shouldn't this be opened up to different architectural firms to submit their proposal? We have some in South Dakota here that I'm sure would be happy to and keep rather than going out of state.
Lee, would you like to answer that question?
Yeah, I can respond to that. So essentially what we did in the process was probably about a year and a half ago, we did do an RFP for the Justice Project overall. And we received 10 different proposals. So we still have them, so you take a look.
Familiar
and
with
so we had a competitive process, a very objective rating process, whereby the Justice Advisory Committee recommended this particular architect out of those 10 for hire. And so we did a pre-design. At that point, it was pre-design. At this point, this is an actual remodel where we're actually going to do the design work and the construction. And so it's this type of facility. That process, I think, that process of the RFP and going through those 10 proposals, I think answered that mail pretty well. And so that was, and there were South Dakota architects that did provide proposals on that project.
I guess I would raise the question of that project with these architects went down to failure by the vote of the people. And so now we're working on a different project. This is somewhat jail related, but that was building a jail and a separate facility completely. This is not even in the same book.
Well, most of this was covered by that previous project. So
are we doing any harm by opening it up and stepping back in the process for 6 months?
You will delay the process, and it'll probably cost a little bit more.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
We've heard that before. It's going to be more interest, it's going to be more cost, et cetera, et cetera.
And
15 years ago, when this was brought up by a completely different commission and started to look at it, I'm sure the same thing could be said about today, and nothing is done. I am one of the very first persons in favor of remodeling the courtroom and making an extra courtroom. I just would like to see it opened up to different architects. If there's nobody else that comes forward and wants to do the project or is interested in doing the project, that's fine. But then we would have that satisfaction for the citizens of Cottington County, that they would have the comfort of knowing that this is the best way to do it.
We think we've done our due diligence on that. I would say, speaking from my perspective, Commissioner Waterman, that we believe we've done our due diligence on that. When we went through the process, the reason we went through that thorough process was so that we could move on with the project when we needed to.
I understand that, but that process involved a standalone system. We don't know where we're heading.
I'm not sure. What do you mean by standalone system?
The proposal of the committee was to run to put it across the street. That's what these guys did. This included the remodeling of the courtroom.
No, if I could come back, so the request for proposals was to walk us through the entire process. It was well before we had chosen that particular site for the jail. So they walked us through the entire process of pre-design, and that included working through our alternatives for site selection for the jail. I mean, it is all part and parcel to a justice project. So, speaking from my perspective, I think we've done our due diligence on all of that. When we got 10 proposals, we went through it thoroughly, and that included checking references, talking to other counties that have worked with these and other architects. I defer to my fellow commissioners that, well, 2 of them are here that approved that contract at the recommendation of the Justice Advisory Committee. So that was back early 2016. So about a year and a half ago that happened. So.
How long would it take if you were to, say, open it up for other,
Well, it'd probably add a couple months, at least a minimum, and then you'd have to get them up to speed with what our issues are. So it'd take another, you'd want the architect to have plenty of time to understand our particular situation. So, I'd say a couple months to do the RFP, the proposals. You're asking a lot of work on the part of the Justice Advisory Committee. That was a lot of work to go through those 10 proposals. So, yeah, I'd say minimum 2 months to do that, and then you'd have to give the architect some time to get.
So if we'd open it up for outside contractors to bid on it, architects, we would, in order to get back to where we are today, in reference to Brenda's question, do you think 2 months? I don't know if we could do it 2 months.
I think probably minimum 4, really, to get to the point where we're comfortable again. I mean, we've been going through these discussions. We picked this architect because with the idea that we're going to be probably in this for the long haul. This is going to be a big project, whatever it is. And so, you got to keep in mind that the architect did help us with some of the public awareness stuff, but that was mostly us, and I think we made some significant progress on it. Actually, we lost the vote by 72 votes, but it's I think that was a pretty close one. So I think we've made progress, not as much as we'd like to, of course, but.
Can I get a total dollar amount for my minutes of the agreement?
Of the agreement, okay, so it would be the architect's fees would be $160,000.
Okay.
Okay, plus up to $12,000 in expenses.
Okay.
So potentially.
172,000.
Yeah, potentially.
Okay.
So.
All right, that's what I need. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, good questions, though, Harley. I could tell by the wrinkles on his forehead how concerned he was about that comment, and I haven't had to take my shoes off to count the wrinkles yet, Harley. But
Well, I am very concerned about that, and everybody can see that knows that I am pretty thrifty and like to turn a nickel over and look at it twice. But would a 6-month lease it 2, then it was 4. I'll say 6 months with a 6-month delay in looking into this and getting proposals from other architectural firms. Is it going to be delaying the project in a big way over the course of time? I believe not.
So are you offering to write the RFP?
I'll work with you on it.
Okay, well, that's, I think.
Or maybe we could should have an outside, an independent commission do this.
now we're going to get into what are the dollar figures that we're going to add to this delay.
If I may say something, Mr. Chairman. What I know you weren't. This is your first.
This is my first term. Yes.
Yeah, and you haven't been your first year, so you weren't involved in the process. But in my view, you're essentially asking us to do what we did already. We did a very thorough process, and you're asking us to repeat the work that we did. So we did. We went through. We wrote an RFP. That was, trust me, that was a lot of work, and that Pre-design RFP walked us through the entire process of, and it also had provisions in there, if we go beyond pre-design, in other words, the consultant, aspects of what an architect does, to this kind of thing, where they're actually designing a space and helping us remodel and construct it. So that work has been done. So I'm kind of not getting why we want to repeat this for a fairly small, relatively straightforward agreement.
What the percent that the architects is getting was 12%, is that what you figured?
It's 12% of the overall project, so it's probably a little less than that as far as the percentage of the construction
Is that
goes.
pretty standard, Lee? Is that?
Yeah, it is, but at any given time, there are market rates for different things. And so for a small project like this, yeah, it's probably pretty standard. Now, if the project gets larger, then you're going to have to look out at what the market is doing.
Right.
And see what those percentages are. So,
In years past, when we would build, I think, up at Lake Area, and I was involved in some of those, 10% was kind of a standard back then, and that was for pretty large projects.
yeah,
And if it gets to be a very, very large project, it may drop down to 7, but that's rare.
Yeah, so
But
it'd be- yeah.
you're exactly right. A smaller project is going to be higher.
Yeah.
So 12%, I think it's in the neighborhood, ballpark. Well, we've had some good discussion. Thank you, Harley. Appreciate that. Appreciate the input of everyone. We do have a motion and a second on the floor. And the motion, would you like to, let's go back and just review that motion.
Motion to authorize the chair to sign an agreement with BKV for, maybe Lee should,
Yeah, I guess so. With architects to provide a secondary courtroom and a remodel clerk of court's office, and I don't know if you want to include the amount in there.
I do, that's why I asked.
Yeah, and so for the
160,000 for architectural
Plus.
services and 12,000,
Yeah,
up
plus
to
up to
12,000 for
in
expenses.
expenses.
Yeah.
And those are approximate numbers,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not.
It won't be more, but it could be less.
Well, the 160, I would say,
That's
is
pretty locked in.
pretty
yeah,
locked
that
in.
part's locked in.
That's
Yes.
pretty solid, yeah.
Yes.
It could be less.
Well, their fees are going to be the same. The construction part of it is where that depends on how the bids come
But
in.
the
So-
10 or 12,000
Yeah.
could be.
And so that's essentially where the cost savings would be by being able to bid in late winter or February timeframe. So,
Which is the time that you want to get those bids.
yeah,
Yeah,
if you want to get if you want the best prices.
right.
So,
All right, any more discussion? And you did hear the motion read back to us. Any questions on the motion that we have on the table? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Nay.
We have 1 dissent. You want that recorded?
I automatically
It
record.
is recorded.
Yes.
Okay, it looks like the motion passed. Thank you. Let's go on to item number 9, action to approve claims for payment, and we do have a few.
Nothing for 9 or 10 today.
Oh, well, that's good news. Thank you, Harley. Brought some good news to us. Number 11 then, action to approve personnel changes. We do have a couple of those, though. They're in your packet.
The first, whoops, that's a travel request. All right, the first one is Lori Deutsch. She is the office manager at the Highway Department. She'll go for her anniversary step increase to step 11, $20.38 an hour. Second one is Jennifer Matek, is a correctional officer. She's due her anniversary step increase to step 11, $22.09 an hour. And new hire, Angela Hyde, is a clerical position in the welfare office, $16.10 per hour, step 4 on the clerical wage scale.
Move to approve those.
All right, we have a
Personnel
motion
Second.
by Hatton, a second by Waterman. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, this Angela Hyde, was that the position that we
That's the
advertised for?
part-time
It is,
position.
yes.
Excellent, good.
Yep. And the only comment that I would make is that when I was reviewing these earlier in the week, we had several applications. Well, Terry could probably support this for that position. Anytime we have a position open up in the county, we have sufficient applications. We don't, apparently it's a good place to work.
Well, in this,
It is.
there's no benefits that go with
No
this
benefits
position.
with this position, yeah.
But still, the salaries are good. You know, when you look at the general salaries throughout the local community, when we have someone at $22.09 an hour, you know, those are decent salaries. And I don't know if you heard that or not. There was one of the candidates had a master's degree, and yeah, we have some individuals with a lot of education and that are still attracted to coming to work for Cudahy County, which is good. So you heard the motion?
Mr. Chairman, a
Yes.
quick question. How many people applied for that job? Just curiosity.
Terry
Do
would
you
know.
Is it 20-some? 20-some, I think is the last time
I'm just curious.
I heard,
Thank you.
yeah.
That was a part-time position in the welfare office.
Yes, part-time without benefits, so.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't know for sure either, but that's what I'd heard, something in that neighborhood, because I was asking if we were getting any applications, said, oh yeah, so that's good. All right, we have a motion on the floor and a
And a
second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. We do have a travel request in here.
Emergency Management Jim Sutton requests to attend a State Incident Management Assistant Team Meeting Training in Pierre. Lodging paid by the state, meals paid by the state. He will use a county vehicle, and any overtime hours will be flexed.
Move to approve that travel
Motion by
request.
Hatton, second by
Lee.
Van Duzen.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Gable, second by Gable. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Mature business, we have any old business for the board to review, look at?
And Mr. Chairman, just to
Yes.
update folks on what Commissioner Hatton and I were referring to in the course of talking about the court space. So as we've mentioned before, the nurse's office would be the key office that needs to move out of the courthouse, but additionally the Veterans Assistance Office and possibly the welfare office. But anyway, probably at least the nurses and the Veterans Assistance Office will probably need to move out of the courthouse. So we've been looking around at office spaces, seen some pretty good prospects. One in which you want to talk about, Commissioner Hannon, about the auditorium. The city was
Yes.
very helpful.
Right. I contacted the city now that their Park and Rec department has moved out, if there would maybe be some available space over there that we could move some of our offices in, and they gave us a tour and are very receptive to it. There's a couple offices that I think will work. Very reasonable. We will, well, the details will be worked out. We will need to go to a Park and Rec board meeting and mention it.
So we're on
Sounds
their
like it will be
agenda.
utilities is what will be expected of us,
Yeah,
so, I mean, a portion, a small portion, so that seems like a good,
Yeah, so we're on the
Good
Park and
answer.
Rec agenda.
Lift there, because it's on the second
Yeah,
floor.
that's a key
Yep.
thing is a handicapped access. Yeah,
It does.
Yeah, that lift, yeah.
and we did have Al over there, and he was very receptive to it,
Yeah.
so.
So-
And it's close, in close proximity to the courthouse for him, especially if some of his folks need to come and get their DD 214, a copy of it or something,
Yeah.
we need to have them close by, so.
And then we've also looked at there's a pretty good prospect, I think, for the nurse's office as well, but still considering maybe a few other potential office spaces around town for that, so.
Still working on it.
That's ongoing.
Thank you for doing that. Any other old business? Anything else for old business? Seeing none, what about new business? Any new business? About the open, anything for the open?
Yeah, I have several things that there could possibly be a quorum of commissioners at this evening. I have at 5:30, there's a candlelight vigil for the Beacon Center at County Fair Banquet Hall.
What's that again?
The candlelight vigil for the Beacon Center for victims of domestic violence at 5:30. Thursday at 4:30 is the Watertown Development Corporation's annual meeting. Monday night, as Brad had mentioned, the Watertown Healthy Youth Council up at LATI at from 5:30 to 7 is going to be putting on another program on prescription drugs and binge drinking. And that's all that I have. We'll have the volunteer appreciation dinner next Tuesday, but we can mention that next week. Other than that, I think that covers it, unless somebody else has anything else.
Last Tuesday, I did attend an open forum sponsored by the Veterans Service in reference to veterans service, veterans services and what changes are going to be or changes that are forthcoming. Sorry, I didn't have my mic on. It was last Tuesday. It was a veterans service program, and they had the people in that represent the Veterans Service of South Dakota. Very, very informal. Elle was there, and they introduced the people that you make first contact with if you think that if you are a veteran and need to go through the process of applying for any of the veteran services and the changes that are coming down, and there are quite a few, and some of the things that they're looking out for down the road as far as, you know, we used to deal with Agent Orange was a big issue, and it still is, and the other diseases that have been affected by service to the country. But it was a good program, well attended. It was out at the Elks, and that large room to the south was pretty well filled up with people. So a lot of people were interested, and they did a good job. Anything else?
Is there a specific day for domestic violence awareness in the month of October?
It was like the beginning, October 3rd.
Okay.
I thought it was.
I thought there was something coming up.
Entire month, isn't it?
Yeah, I think
Is it? Okay.
it is October.
October, Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Okay. I thought maybe there was a specific
Yeah,
day.
I don't think it's a month, Cindy, it's the entire day.
See, the Friday, October 6th, that's what they had, their 6th annual Purple Power Day. So, yeah,
Oh,
they have
okay.
different
They
activities.
did,
So
okay.
then tonight is the 6th annual Candlelight Vigil.
Okay.
So, yes, it is the entire month.
Did we settle on was that the 8th of November for the Sioux Valley?
Oh, I should bring you up to speed on that. We had quite a few different conflicts. So the Sioux Valley Commissioners meeting is going to be November 29th. We're going to go to the end of the month, get through the holidays, and hopefully then it will help. So our department heads are going to be able to attend this as well.
So that's a change from November 8th to the 29th.
Yes.
November 29th.
It's a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday.
Just the last Wednesday of the month.
And after Thanksgiving, that will be a light lunch.
Leftovers.
No guarantees on that. Carla will do our
Okay.
treats for us. I was able to get a hold of her,
Okay, good.
so.
All right, anything else for the good of the cause? We do have a request from Terry for a executive session, and that was in reference of negotiations with union.
Number 4,
Number-
contract negotiations.
Oh.
That's number 4. I think it's
It'd be
probably number
number
4.
Number
I'll make a motion that we go into executive session.
Preparing for contract
Second.
negotiations or negotiating with employees or employee representatives or labor union.
Got a motion from Brenda and a second from Troy.
Motion by Brenda and second by Troy to go into executive session. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We are in executive session.